on to discuss this issue with me is the Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Housing. He's already in the studio, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije. Good morning, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. And also in the studio is Surveyor K.C. Abaronye. He's the Surveyor General in Abia State. Good morning, Surveyor. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning for having me too.
All right. Welcome. I think we should just start with the policy on issuance of certificate of occupancy. That was the last time you were on the show, Honorable Commissioner. I recall that that was when you just came up with that policy. You said 30 days, 30 working days, anybody that apply for certificate of occupancy in the state will get it. How has it been? What is the response like from the people?
The response has been good, and as a ministry, we have taken diligent efforts in to keep our word. So it's a policy statement which we're not going back on. It's tied to the ease of doing business. So the process of doing business in Abia, the process of interfacing with the Ministry of Lands and Housing has to be simple and seamless.
Okay, now to the surveyor. Let us look at that policy again. Before one gets certificate of occupancy in the state, what are those things that the person needs to have, first of all? Because there are some land documents today that do not have that CFO. And you know, the CFO has to be issued by the governor himself, I suppose, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are those things one need to have before you can even apply for the CFO and you get it in 30 days, just like the commissioner said?
Yeah, you need to have a power of attorney. And inside the power of attorney is supposed to be the survey plan. And you need to have tax clearance and all that. But the survey plan needs to be certified to make sure that it's an acceptable coordinate system before it can be approved for certificate of occupancy.
Who gives the survey plan you're talking about?
Yeah, the survey plan can either be given by government or also by private practicing surveyors.
Okay. Yeah. So if I'm a developer now, I can get my own surveyor, he'll give me the plan, and then I present to you. Is that correct?
Exactly.
So am I supposed to pay anything for me to get this survey plan approved?
Yes, if it has to do with a private survey, now there are private surveys when it's private land, or maybe government surveys when it has to do with government land. You know, if it's private surveys, definitely there are scale of fees you need to pay to the practicing surveyor you contacted to do the job for you. Then the practicing surveyor will now pay the required fees by the government in order to deposit the rare copy, which is the final deposition, domiciled in Ministry of Lands and Survey.
So what if the government is providing their own survey?
Okay, that's when it has to do with government survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it has to do with government survey, in your allocation paper, then it has to do with government allocations.
Okay. And
in the allocation paper, there are specified fees that one has to pay.
Like how much?
For a plot of land, it has to be 50,000 naira.
Okay.
You need to pay to Abia State government. But if the size is not is more than a plot, then the amount that will be paid will be determined by the director of state director of lands, Abia State.
Okay. Now let me come to you, Honorable Commissioner. Now the issue of this recertification of land titles, which you just came up with. In details, what is it all about exactly? Because most people do not know about it. I think the news just dropped a few days ago, and you gave like a 1 month time frame within which one can present or submit whatever land titles you have before one gets recertified for his property. Tell us more about this.
Okay, before I go into the details, in summary, the Abia State government is cleaning up its land registry.
Okay.
So through the recertification process, we are updating our land records. We are upgrading our survey data. The Surveyor General just mentioned about submitting survey plans, but a number of the survey plans we have are in the local and Nigerian origin, which has issues of accuracy. So part of the recertification process allows us to upgrade the survey data to UTM, which is more accurate. And in doing that, it sorts out the problem of overlapping allocations. Then we're also using the opportunity to recover statutory dues like ground rents, building leases that have expired, and also review the issue of development control approvals, change of use. It's also an opportunity for the government to expand its social register, Abia State social identification number, absent registration, and all that. So it's a routine exercise, but the key reason why the government is embarking on recertification exercise is to clean up its land registry. So with one shot, sort out all these issues of double allocations, overlapping allocation, unrealized allocations, or people with plots of land that don't have access to their property, or those problem areas like MBC, Lodu, etc. So as we all know, it is a corrective regime. That's the essence of recertification. If I reference the KPMG report, which was just released, tied to the controversial 10 billion airport, you'll find a whole section of that report dedicated to land transactions, where title documents that were issued without due process, right? Recertification gives you better confidence in the title document you're holding in your hand. So you're not holding tissue paper. You're holding a title document that you can take to the bank. That is the essence of recertification exercise, to correct our land administration system, to clean up our land records, and to recover on our statutory dues.
Okay, so if you're talking about those land title documents, so if one brings his land title document to you, is it one of the requirements one needs to submit before his property is recertified with this policy?
Yes, that's the first and foremost process. The recertification process has 6 processes. The first process is why I'm in the radio, the publicity process, why you are aware that as a recertification exercise, we give the reason why we are doing a recertification exercise. The second aspect of the process is what you're asking for. What do you submit?
Yes.
All I need every Abian to come to the Ministry of Land and Housing and submit it online is your title document or your claim to any land. So this actually affects everybody that has a property, land or property. If you have the existing title, just bring it to the Ministry of Lands and Housing. And before the collection process can be concluded, number one, we ensure that you complete your absent registration. Number two, the recertification fee of 50,000 is paid. And number three, the title document will be collected. After that second process is concluded, we then enter into the third process, which is the verification process, where we break down going through the land records, ensuring that they're up to date, going through the development control process. When we finish the verification process, then we then enter into the fourth process, which is the recertification process, where we issue you a new title document. The fifth process is when we isolate what we call the problem areas, areas that are prone to litigation. Transactions relating to PIU or APSEDA, transactions relating to Lodu, transactions relating to MBC, transactions relating to cattle leverage, transactions relating to so one or two other places that I can't recall. Those are given special attention, and as a government, we then resolve the issues relating to unrealized allocations in those areas, double allocations in those areas once and for all. Then the last aspect of our process is outcomes. What do we want to achieve as a government in terms of recertification process, and did we achieve that? One key thing we want to achieve is to have a cleaner land record, because our ambition as a government is to be number one in terms of transparency, value, and efficiency in our land administration system in Nigeria.
So you just talked about MEC, PIU, and the rest of that. Are there issues with land allocation with those areas?
In terms of what we inherited, right? When they say sometimes people equate land to Okoloka, or land transactions are tedious. So you find out that we have a large number of transactions from the PIU area that have to do with one issue or the other. Maybe people have been given allocation letters and they haven't realized that allocation letters, or they don't know where the land is, or somebody has an allocation letter and he has no access to this plot of land, or there are litigations, you are given an allocation letter and communities don't allow you to possess your possession in quotes, as we have in the MBC and all that. So all that as a government, because Abia has really become the center of Akurolo. Everybody is looking towards Abia. People want to come back home and live. People want to come back home and invest. So it is important that we have a squeaky clean and efficient land administration system in place.
Okay, so this process now, let's assume one after meeting all the requirements needed. What should be the next thing? Will one be given certificate of occupancy?
Yes, of course.
Okay, after meeting all the
whole requirements under 30 days. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean with the recertification exercise, yes. I mean after going through the recertification process and all that, yeah. What should one get in return after submitting all your titles?
A new title certificate of occupancy.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So, Honorable Commissioner, when you talk about 50,000 naira recertification fee, and one will be tempted to ask you, you know the economic realities on ground right now. People are suffering. Even the ones that have lands everywhere may not even be able to develop them. When you go to the market, you price a bag of cement, prices have gone up and all that. Are you considerate with the 50,000 naira recertification fee that you are compelling people to pay for this exercise? Is it not on the high side, Honorable Commissioner?
So number one, government runs on IGR. However, His Excellency had mentioned that taxation is the government's share of prosperity/value it creates for the people. In going through the recertification exercise, in having a COO in 30-day process, Abians are being given value. That's why I said your title document is no longer tissue paper, where you have an allocation letter, but you don't even know where the land is, or there's no access roads to the this thing. It gives us, it allows us to do that rigorous work, go to field, ascertain these things, check the development control, ensure that we don't have disorganized development all up and down. When you come into the Ministry of Lands and Housing, it should be working like clockwork. There's light, there's water, it's a conducive environment, files are moving, you can track your file. This is government running. And it is government powered by our resources. So on one hand, the citizens are powering the running of government. On the other hand, they are seeing the value being created. Then when you talk about the 50,000 being corrected, I was in Edo GIS last week Friday. They also have a recertification fee of 50,000, and their recertification process is also ongoing. So if you compare what Abia State charges as a government and what the surrounding states charge, as a P2B will say, go and verify. You find out that our rates are comparable or lower, and all that. There is inflation in terms of the cost of running the government and all that. So the value of the price of something 10 years ago or 5 years ago is not the same price here, and yet we have not even increased our land rates or everything. What we are doing is ensuring deeper penetration and efficiency in our administrative system. Thank you.
Okay, Surveyor, why do we normally have this issue with land allocation? Just like Honorable Commissioner mentioned earlier, double allocation of land, just like he said, once you mention land, the next thing that comes to your mind is the issue of trouble, quarrels, disagreements, and all that. Is it that before now, most allocation, don't they go through the Ministry of Lands? Are you not aware of it? Are you not supposed to have resolved all these issues before one gets allocated to a particular land?
Yeah. Like my Honorable Commissioner rightly said, this is a corrective regime. There were a lot of anomalies in the old regime. A situation in which due process were not followed in the process of a civil servant executing his duties. But this is a corrective regime, and they have come to put everything in place to make sure that due process is followed. What do I mean by due process not being followed? Actually, in the midst of acquisition, the surveyor goes to the field, does the perimeter survey of the area in question, He now submits to the town planner, who designs the layout based on the topographical survey of the area about what the place is supposed to actually look like. Now gives it back to the surveyor again, who goes back to the field and translates ground truths the town planner designs on the ground based on the topographical nature of the terrain. Now, if peradventure, then the town planner is meant to accept back what the surveyor has finally postulated on the ground. He adopts it. But if in the process, this due process is not followed, you know what I mean, somewhere along the line, what you're asking me will be the resultant effect. But this regime is correcting all this process. Everything is due process. So that kind of a thing cannot happen in this regime.
Now, I know of somebody who has a property somewhere around that, is it Umuchime or somewhere, you know. I say PIU land anyways, but that area appears to be threatened by erosion. And it's the same people that actually allocated this land to. Is it that it was not properly surveyed before the land allocation? You know, in such situation, what should the Ministry of Land be doing at this point?
Yeah, you've answered the question, sir. He was not rightly surveyed. But this time around, I told you this regime is making sure due process is being followed. They are not jumping any process at all. When due process is followed, the surveyor in the field will mark all those places that are erosion prone, and the person that is designing will design and make sure that he doesn't give allocations into those areas that are erosion prone, and everything will work out accordingly.
Honorable Commissioner, the issue of land dispute will continue, especially where you have, maybe you go into a community, you acquire land, expanse of land and all that, and you start allocating. You notice that when you give a land to somebody, the community, I mean the owners of the land will come. I'm sure you know of Omonide those days in Lagos. We still see them around. With this recertification process that you're doing and all these things you're trying to rejig and correct in land allocation, what would you do in this regard to ensure that once land is allocated, nobody is disturbed if the person wants to start developing his property?
What we'll do is due process, as defined by the Land Use Act. There's a process for acquisition. You have the community engagements. You have the revocations for overriding public purpose. You have the enumeration. You have the valuation, and you have the compensation. So even though the Land Use Act, the governor, if I may use that term, owns the entire land. But where he acquires land for overriding public purposes, the same law prescribes that fair compensation should be determined and paid. So when you jump the gun, you go and acquire, and you don't follow through on the community consultation, enumeration, etc., that means whoever it is that is taking possession of that land might have challenges possessing his possession. He will then have unfriendly neighbors. But this government is focused on due process. So before we get into any land, if it's a government acquisition, we go through that process of community engagement, we go through that process of defining what we are taking and why we are taking it. We go through the process of appropriate revocation notices, serving the notices, giving the due time, enumerating what lies within that perimeter area, defining the claim survey in terms of defining the various interests within the defined perimeter area, paying the appropriate compensation. So when you follow this thing end to end, appropriately documented, then it allows you to pass on unencumbered title to whatever industry or whatever reason that
I think we should just break it down. When you say unencumbered parcel, that means land that is not doesn't have issues at all, right?
That doesn't have issues, properly documented, because due process was followed. And for The lands we are following through on acquisitions, the lands that we have had to acquire for one reason or the other, we have followed that process. Had town hall engagements, had radio interviews, giving notices, allowed appropriate time, done enumeration. So even though the community is donating the land for one reason or the other, you still have to enumerate. You still have to define a claim survey. It still has to be documented that there is this MOU that this community is given freely that land for a particular purpose, as happened in 2 institutions that were established in Umunochi and also in Ofeme.
Okay, so if one is done with this recertification, does it need to pay development fee? Because I know that there's something like that. You pay, is it to the community now or to the government? Do you need to pay the development fee? Do you also pay fencing permits fee and all that? Because I know that those are the things one needs to pay before you can even start developing.
Titling and development are 2 different things.
Okay.
You've been given title to a land. It could be a developed or an undeveloped land. Any development on land is defined by the Abia State urban and regional law, which is done through the town planning authority. So after you have certified your title to that land, and you then want to go through the process of fencing your property or building whatever it is you want to build on your property, you still need the building plan approval. You still need the development permits. But a precondition for the town planning authorities, and if it's within the Umuahia environs, that's the Umuahia Capital Development Authority, and is within the Greater Aba environment, that is the Greater Aba Development Authority, for them to even start processing your development permits, they would have to start from your title. So if you don't have title, you'll not even go through the process of the development permit. So there are 2 different things, but they are interconnected. Part of the recertification process is a double-edged sword. You already have the certificate. So we're going to look at the certificate, the land aspect of the certificate, be sure that you have paid the appropriate rates, be the ground rents. If it's a building lease, if it's expired, you have to renew it, etc. The second aspect of the part of the certificate is the development control issues. We've given you a title for a particular purpose, perhaps residential. As part of the verification process, we go and we see that you have converted to commercial.
Okay.
Then that is a development control issue. Change of purpose use. Do we accept that change? Then you will have to go through the process of perfecting the change you have done on that title we gave you. Secondly, when we gave you that title, it was undeveloped. Now we're doing recertification. We go as part of the recertification process, we'll see that you have fenced it, you have built something on it and all that. You would have to build, you have to produce the development permit for it, right? So that's why I say this is a corrective regime. By the time we finish the recertification process and we're reissuing you a certificate of occupancy, Aba area, which includes Aba South, Aba North, Ugunabo, Osisioma, and Obingwa. It's the development control activities there, the town plan activities there is overseen by the newly created Greater Aba Development Authority, GADA.
Okay, so Surveyor, let me come to you now. Why is it that each time one is developing his property, the next thing you see that UCDA will mark something, stop, even maybe you've paid whatever thing you needed to pay and all that. Are you also working together with Umuahia Capital or the development authorities so that we do not have this conflict, probably of interest, that after the surveyor must have done his work and go, and we still see UCDA coming to mark stop work and all that?
Like I rightly said last time, it's a process from one process to another process. Carrying out a survey is another process altogether.
Okay.
Then UCDA have their own schedule. They have to come and check whether you have, before you start development, whether you have fulfilled their own process. So they have their own process. There are certain fees that are supposed to be payable to their establishment before you start development. They mark that thing because you have not fulfilled payment of their fees. That's why they mark that. Immediately, like for example, building approval, they'll come to check whether you have building approval, whether you have whether the structural engineer has approved for you to erect a story building or something like that. That's why they come to mark that thing on your building.
Okay, if you're just joining us, this is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. My guest is the Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Housing, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije, and also Surveyor Abia State, the Surveyor General of Abia State. All of them are here in the studio giving us up to date as regards the administration of Land Use Act here in Abia State. We'll take a breather now. When we come back, maybe we'll look at other issues surrounding the Land Use Act in Abia State and how we can run it better. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the program. It's still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. And we are looking at the policies of government where it affects land in Abia State. Like I told you before, went on that break, that my guest is the Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Housing in Abia State, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije, and the Surveyor General in Abia State, Surveyor Abia. All of them are here in the studio. Welcome back to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, with this development, you said maybe you need to reiterate. How, 30 days. That should be 30 days for one to actually submit those documents for you to get recertified. Is it not too so soon? Is it not too impromptu for just 1 month? Maybe some people are not in town right now and may not have been privileged to hear what you're talking about. Do you consider extending the time?
The 30 days is actually a discount period when you relate it to the fee. Because after that 30 days, the fee jumps up. And why do we define the period? We define the period in order to heighten the efficiency in collection. Because when the collection process ends, as part of the collection process, the verification process commences. Verification process commences and the reissuance of certificates of occupancy commences. So if it is open-ended, it delays the time when we can start the verification process. And also, in tandem with people usually wait for last minute. So even if you say we're giving 2 months or we're giving 3 months, you find out that you find the rush at the last week. So this just heightens the efficiency for us to quickly get through the verification process and jump into reissuing your C of O. When we get to the point of the 30 days, we then reassess and then make that decision. So it's actually a continuous process. But we're saying 30 days. If you submit your title within your 30 days, we're able to allow this discounted submission fee. After that period, yes, it jumps.
Maybe to 1 million or something.
As advertised, 100.
Wow.
I know. And after the verification, after the collection period, after a period of time, your title documents become invalid for transactions. So you are compelled to go and sort out the recertification before those title documents can become open for transactions and all that.
When you mean transaction, what exactly do you mean? Is it before you can even go there to develop in case it's not developed yet, or how? What exactly do you mean?
Those kind of transactions, before you can transfer it from one person to the other, okay, I'll be asking you for your recertified document. Okay. Before you can follow through on processing your mortgages, I'll be asking you for your recertified document. Before you can process your building plan approvals, I'll be asking you for your recertified documents. Because recertified is our own seal of approval, showing that we have cleaned up the process. We have checked that there is no overlapping issues on your land, your rates are on point, etc.
Okay, I think it's time for us to actually open the phone lines. I'm sure you have 1 or 2 questions to put across to my guests here in the studio. It is time for you to do just that. The numbers to call are 080-8182-6949 or 0811-605-2949. 49. You can also go to our Facebook page and drop your comment. From there, we can lift whatever concerns you may have here on the platform. And don't forget that my guest is the Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Housing in Abia State, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije, and the Surveyor General in Abia State, Surveyor Abia State. Those are my guests, and they are here to take your question right now. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, welcome.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Genika. Good morning, sir.
Welcome, Chijoke. I'm sure you have a land somewhere, so what is wrong with your own land? Maybe you can ask your question. The commissioner is here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My honorable commissioner, good morning, sir.
Ndewo,
sir. I'm from Isukwato. I want to commend you, sir. And to me personally, my name is Mr. Chijoke. To me personally, I want to say that you are very serious to make sure that everywhere is okay, and as the issue of good governance, believe you are following the footsteps of the governor. So I want to commend you, sir, and to encourage you also to continue to follow the due process in terms of land, allocation in Abia State, because I need to understand that our government did not follow due process to allocate some states to various people. They took it as a personal business. So I want you to take it as a matter of urgency to investigate DIU of Abia State, because a lot of things went wrong. I want you to truly investigate it thoroughly,
Thank you.
so that we will know what went wrong in that ministry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Chijoke. Hello.
Hello, Benita. Good morning.
Welcome.
My name is Joe. I'm Joel Monica calling from Umuahia.
Okay.
Please, I want to know from the Honorable Commissioner. There's a land that my grandfather found before from signboard going to Umuahia, and they said the government want to collect that land now. So I don't know where the problem is coming from. So I don't know whether the government.
Where is the land? Maybe you repeat it. Where is the land? Say it again.
The land from signboard.
Okay, signboard.
From signboard. Signboard, yeah.
Okay.
That junction there, going to Umuahia and Opan.
Okay.
Going from there, going to Umuahia, both left and right.
Okay. All right.
From Mumu, this thing, there's no family, all the family from Mumu, this thing, they have a land property there. So, and they said the government want to collect it, and I don't know.
Don't worry, he will react to that. Thank you so much. Let's take another call now. Okay, 08081826949 or 08116052949. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Yeah, my name is Chief Genika.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, Commissioner, very well. Does it mean that the CFOs allocated by previous government is not valid?
Okay. Okay, that is the previous CFO.
Yes,
Okay.
I have the CFO. This signed by the former past governor of the state.
Okay.
Duly signed. Not even one into.
Okay, you are now asking if it's no longer valid, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm sure the Honorable Commissioner will react to that. Let's take another call now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, yeah, my brother, good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is Ogo Mokrafo. I'm calling from Amudi State here in Umuahia, Abia State.
Okay.
Honorable Commissioner Ogo Chaka Chukwumerije, may God bless you for the wonderful job you are directing our governor to do. Actually, I have this question, Ogo Chaka Chukwumerije. Concerns my local government of Umuahia. Hello, and think, Ogo Chaka Chukwumerije, what is your office doing? I think to help property owners around the Umuahia local government, precisely in Kwago, most property owners do not have access roads. I mean, they can sell their properties. So many of them, so many. And then you have a town planning authority going around, going to people's house, collecting money, not doing anything. In a situation where you have a property, people will build around your property. Then after, before you know it, the property will become a waste. You wouldn't see an access road where it affects your road. So what's your office doing to correct, to help some of us that has these bodies properties? because the town planning authority, they are not doing anything, not even anything. So what is the office doing, please, Honorable Commissioner? Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thank you so much. I think I'll allow the Honorable Commissioner to react to some of the concerns raised by our callers at this point. Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The first caller raised concerns about PIU. And I had mentioned as part of the recertification, I had mentioned that we have 6 processes in the recertification process: the publicity process, the collection process, the verification process, the recertification process, the tackling of problem areas, and the measuring of outcomes. So PIU comes under number 5, tackling of problem areas. Yes, we have had a lot of petitions and related activities coming from PIU ABSEDA.
Okay.
This is a corrective regime, and we are going to bite that bullet. Any issue relating to allocations from ABSEDA, PIU, it will be resolved as part of this recertification process. So if you have any claim to title emanating from PIU ABSEDA, it is also part of the documents you should submit. And we will go through that verification process and affirm what you have or correct it.
Okay, so sorry, before you move over to the next question, let's assume, like the PIU talked about, maybe a particular land was given to 2 people and they submitted, or maybe they are going to submit their title document, and you find out that this same land has 2 owners. What will you do at that point?
Abia State only has 1 land registry, and as such, Abia State can only issue 1 valid title on 1 piece of land. We cannot give 2 titles on 1 piece of land. It's a process. So the process of giving you a title is a process. So where 2 titles have been given on a particular piece of land and all that, there's a principle. Who was it issued to first, right? So these are part of what we go through in verifying.
And
only 1 person is going to have claim to that title, while the second person, at best, and all that, we can reallocate a commensurate piece of land elsewhere. So these are issues that we will be tackling heads on as part of this recertification process.
Okay, your next question.
The next question, something about, is government acquiring a piece of land somewhere around signboard and all that? Acquisition, whatever acquisition we're involved in, and we're involved in quite a number of acquisitions here and there, it goes through a process. It goes through a community engagement process. So we will come to your community. We will accord you that respect. Call town hall meetings, educate you on why we're acquiring your land for an overriding public purposes. We'll serve the due revocation notice. We will enumerate the whatever economic trees are there, whatever unexhausted improvements, as are buildings, etc. We'll take note of it. We'll do the valuation, we'll compensate, whatever it is we have to do. So for the particular one that has been raised by the listener, if it's still here, it should please write to the Ministry of Lands and Housing and confirm the status. Write directly to the Commissioner, Ministry of Lands and Housing, and you will get a response. Be sure to put your contact number and your contact address when you're writing your letter. The third question raised had to do with are former Cs of O not valid? I have multiple Cs of O issued by a previous government. What really do you mean by this recertification? Do you mean that there's a problem with the C of O? No, there is no problem with the, I can't tell if there's a problem with the C of O or not. It is part of the recertification process. I can admit as a government that there are issues with titles. So we have people that have been, their title has been issued on top of title. So we're correcting these things. People have titles and they don't have access roads to their land. We'll correct this thing as part of recertification. People have titles. You've been given an allocation letter, but one of the terms of the issuance of that allocation letter is to carry out development within a particular period of time. So you are sitting on our land without developing it. We'll correct this thing. Or you have title, you're not paying your ground rent. We'll correct this thing. And because you have title, you have property, we need the data. So we need to update our social register. So as part of the registration process, it allows us to ensure that you are registered, that you have an obscene registration. You have title. It also affords us an opportunity to ensure that your tax clearance is up to date. So that is the process of verifying what you have. And if you don't have an existing title, you should also come to the Ministry of Lands and Housing and commence the process of getting a title for that land. for your security and also to release the value on that land and all that. Then there was a caller from Umunochi who mentioned what are we doing about titlings around the local government area and all that. It's also subject to our COO in 30 days. It's also subject to our recertification process. Anywhere in Abia, from Okwa down to Umunochi, from Umunochi up to Alochukwu, as long as you're in Abia State, we are cleaning up our land registry. The second half of the question by the caller in Umunochi is that you have land, but you don't have access to your land. That what is the town planning authority doing there?
Yeah,
this is also
to collect money from them and not doing anything.
This is also the corrective process, part of the recertification process, because as defined in the Land Use Act, for me to give you title to your land and all that, it has to have an access road. For me to give you a development permit, it has to have an access road. So we are correcting all these issues. So development control authorities, town planning authorities are no longer just tax collectors. We have put back the planning in physical planning. It's no longer just about collecting money, but we are going to focus on orderly development. So those issues, the executive secretary of the Umunochi Town Planning Authority is in Maibim. His office is there at the local government. I have noted what you've mentioned. The customer service number of the ministry is 0916 000 2083. 0916 000 2083. So if you give us a specific detail of a particular property that does not have an access road and all that, send it to us, we'll do it. So when people have complaints about activities of any aspect of Ministry of Lands and Housing, you help us by being specific in that complaint, so that we'll deal with issues on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Thank you. Those are all the questions.
There's another question here. This person said, is title document same as the power of attorney?
Title document is the same as C of O.
Okay.
Title documents, whatever gives you claim to a property, be it the power of attorney, which in usual in certain instances when you buy from somebody starts from a power of attorney that evidences a transfer from from the donor to the donee and all that. But that title document, you assert it by coming to register it with the government. So the first process starts by, if it's not a government allocation, you take that power of attorney after you buy property from somebody and you go and register it. Part of the registration process is the BIR collect its capital gains tax and its stamp duties. Then you then bring it to the Ministry of Lands, where we register your interest on that property in our land registry. And in registering your interest in your interest in that property, it means that nobody else can transact in that property without recourse to you. So you have protected yourself and asserted your title of that document. So yes, the certificate of occupancy, the building leases for those that were issued before the land use decree of 1978. Then you have the allocation letters. Some people still have allocation letters, but they have not started the process of processing their C of O. Whatever claim you have, it could be an estate. You live within an estate and they've given you a sublease. That is also a title document. That is also what we'll be processing. That is also what we'll be recertifying. So yes, anything that asserts your claim to a piece of land or property can define as a title document. But what the government would issue you to affirm this title and claim is a certificate of occupancy.
All right. Let's take another call now. Hello, good morning.
Yes, I remember this.
Thank you much. Excellent. Welcome.
My guys in the house, I remember you. Excellent is my name. I want to go like I want to ask a good question now. Number one is that from the past government acquired previously, that I saw it especially that those lands are recruit people. What are you trying? What is the plan for people to recruit those lands? Number one is timber, old timber.
Hello, excellent. Repeat your question so that Honorable Commissioner can get you very well.
Past administration, we call them enemies of Ndabia. I think the past administration.
No, I don't know what you mean. Which just go straight to the point. No need for name calling. Just what's your
I
question?
didn't say that enemies of the not certain men. It's not somebody's men. So what I'm saying is that it's all timber. That place is saying, I don't know, how are you people trying to do with that place? These those housing estates, the federal government compensated that political, even the party base. Give that part and you drink water and give government security. So those things, how are you trying to see those things back from those enemies of the
All right, thank you so much. Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy you have me. Good morning to Honorable Commissioner. My name is Sinamira Wanko. I'm calling from News.
Okay.
I'll make it very quick because I think the time is spent. First of all, I personally recognize the government effort at law by cattle market in particularly, and the efforts of the Honorable Commissioner there. Honorable Commissioner has been very, very wonderful in carrying out his duties. You know, our brothers from the other part of the country there, sometimes, and then dealing with them can be very difficult, but he has been performed very wonderfully. Here is my question, sir. Our plans, now that the government has fenced the market, are there plans to now acquire the land? Because the land area there, which belongs to about 7 landlord communities, have not been quite acquired from them. That is my question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. Maybe I should just add this one now. Somebody just sent it. He said, payment of workers of Town Planning Authority. When should we see that happen? Honorable Commissioner. Okay.
All right, thank you. First question was about Old Timber and Obani Ibeku. And I think the person raised aspersions about irregularities in how the land management system was done. I will point to, it's a combination of land matter and town planning matter. We have put the P part in the front burner in terms of physical planning. As you can see, there are urban renewal activities. I think Ehimiri, the government is grading the road there. So some of these estates and places that have been developed in a very disorganized manner, we are upgrading them. That's one. Two, if there are issues in how the lands were parcellated and allocated in a very haphazard manner, you don't know which one belongs to community, you don't know which one belongs to people, and people cannot realize their allocations, we're also sorting it out. If there are irregularities in allocations, we are sorting it out. So when you talk about lands, for instance, a very big issue for us is recovery. So if government lands have been allocated unduly, we're going to take it back. And from the KPMG report, where a whole section is on land titles that did not follow due process, part of the recertification process is correcting these anomalies. So I don't have the details on the Old Timber and Obani Ibeku you mentioned, but it all falls under the recertification process, where we need to plan a place and ensure that the development happening there is in a fashion. We will do it and all that. So fiscal planning are no longer just tax collectors collecting money up and down. Planning. My time has run out, so I'll speak quickly. Secondly, on the Law Panther cattle market, thank you very much for your commendation of the government in terms of the fencing of the market. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is actually the development and modernization of that market. As it stands, it's a slum. And His Excellency had made the pronouncement that it is a daily market. He visited the market over the weekend and reaffirmed that proclamation, that the Law Panther cattle market is a daily market, it's not a resident. So we'll sort out the residential issues like every other market in Nigeria. You come to market and go back to your abode and all that. So that is the next stage in the Law Panther market. If there are any issues, documented issues that relates to improper acquisitions and all that kind of stuff, this government is a government hurry to develop but also follows due process. When we get to that bridge, we will cross it. Town planning authorities, payment of town planning authorities salaries, the monies have been released, and what delayed the salaries had to do with they are not in the Abia State pay register. they fell under the agencies that were doing generate and spend. But with the new payment, with the policy of the government of treasury single account and one single account registry, that was what caused the delay. We are really very sorry about the delay and the suffering it caused for families and all that kind of stuff, but we are sorting out that process. The funds have been approved, and in the next week or two, people will start getting their alerts. They will then start the formal process of absorbing those that have been duly verified into the Abia State central payroll.
Yeah, because the speculation we are having is that there are plans to lay some of them off. Is that true?
Verification. Layoff is when you're already in the Abia State payroll. You are not in the Abia State payroll. So you are coming into the Abia State payroll. Those in the Abia State payroll, that are already in the Abia State payroll, were subject to verification. In bringing you into the Abia State payroll, things such as age, there's a certain age limit that you cannot be absorbed into the service. We look at your certificate. If your certificate is defective, if there are long history of disciplinary issues, and various other conditions are looked at. That is what determines. It's just the same process, the same way as a policy of government, those that were recruited in 2023 were not brought in, right? So those same kind of policies is also applicable as part of the verification process of the town planning authorities. But in concluding the verification process, as long as you're already there, the backlog of salaries due from November to date, that has been approved, and we're passing through the process of releasing the funds, and in the next week or two, people will start getting their alerts.
Okay. Let me sincerely thank you. We are really out of time. The Honorable Commissioner for Land and Housing, Chaka Chukwumerije. You didn't tell me you are an Ubwe. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. And the Surveyor General of Abia State, Surveyor Katie Abaronye, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And to all of you who called in and who called in because we didn't get much comment on our Facebook page, thank you so much. May God bless you. The platform returns on Friday at 10 a.m. here on the Flow of God's Own State, Flow 94.9 FM. I'm still your one and only Guinea Can Oluwan. Thank you so much. Keep praying for Abia State and Nigeria to become great. Sincere thanks to my producer, Samson Haze. Stanko and Charles, God bless you. And I'll see you again. Good morning.